Alright guys, I'm going to try my best to do this quickly. Here goes. So, car with speed v and an identical car with speed 2v both travel in the same circular section of an unbanked road. If the frictional force required to keep the faster car on the road without skidding is F, then the frictional force required to keep the slower car on the road without skidding is. So the answer is obviously E there. Let's talk about why. The first car has a speed v, the second one has 2v. The faster car requires a force of F. So here, let's look at. So here's the thing: the net force is equal to the mass times v squared over r. So for the slower car, we know the force of a car going in a circle is going to be friction. That's the centripetal force. There's no other forces pulling it towards the center of the circle. So this is friction. And then it's mass times v squared over r. If v is doubled, that's 2v squared. If v is doubled, then that means that this is going to be m times 4v squared over r, which means that this one is going to be 4 times the friction than the other one. But this is the faster car. So if the faster car has a force of F, then if this one's 4 times bigger, this force of friction must be 1/4 F. So that's how we get E for that one. Alright, number 2. A planet with half Earth's mass and half Earth's radius have discovered. What would an astronaut who weighs 800 newtons on the Earth weigh on the planet? So 800 newtons is the weight, and we have half the mass and half the radius. So, on Earth, this guy weighs 800 newtons, which means that mg, in this case, or m times 9.8 is 800. In fact, to do this problem quicker, let's make this 10 instead of 9.8. So the mass of this guy is 80 kilograms. But we want to know, what is the gravitational field strength of a planet that is double the mass and double the radius? So if it's double the mass, that's going to be double the g. But if it's double the radius, that's going to become 4r squared. So that means it's divided by 4. So that's 1/2 g. So if it's half g, then that's going to be, if we're looking for the weight, the force of gravity is going to be equal to the mass, which is 80, times 1/2 of g, which is 10. So then 50 times 80 is 1600. Does that make sense? 50 times 80? Is that a thing? Pull up my calculator now. 50 times 80 is 4,000. Why am I crazy? It says, oh, half the radius. That's why. I did double the radius. All right, let's fix that real quick. So half the radius means that that's 1/2 r. And that would be 1/4 r squared. So then you're dividing it by a quarter, which means that g is actually going to be 4 times 2, so 8 times g. So then this is actually going to be 80. So 80 times 80 is 1600. That makes way more sense. Okay. Spaceship is traveling from Earth to the Moon. Which of the following is true of the gravitational force on the ship if the two objects on the ship is equidistant from the Earth and the Moon? So if they're equidistant, you need to understand that, if they're equidistant, the Earth is, the strength of the Earth's field is going to be bigger than the Moon's field, just because the mass of the Earth is much greater, even though the distance between them is going to be the same. So there has to be a net force. So A is wrong and B is wrong just from that alone. C says there's a net force because the force exerted by the Earth is smaller. That doesn't make sense. It's bigger. So that's D. And the ship would be accelerating towards the Earth, so E can't be right. So D must be correct. Alright, student rides a bicycle in a circle at a constant speed and a constant radius. A force diagram for the student bicycle system is shown. The value for each force is shown. What's the acceleration? So we know the net force right now, just by looking at it, is 250 because the 500s cancel out. So we have net force is 250. And we need the mass of this thing. So to find the mass, you're just going to use gravity. Gravity is 500. It's on Earth, so G is just going to be 9.8 or 10. So the mass is 50, because you're dividing that by 10. And the net force is 250, so 250 divided by 50 will give us our acceleration. Whoa, which is 5 meters per second squared. A ball of mass m swings in a horizontal circle at the end of a string, radius r, at a constant tangential speed v0. A student gradually pulls the string inward such that the radius of the circle decreases while keeping the tangential speed v0 of the ball constant as shown above. Which of the following graphs best represents the acceleration of the ball as a function of time t? So, just to show you a visual of this, we have acceleration is equal to v squared over r. So if you're keeping that constant, but you're changing that, you're actually making it smaller. So as this gets smaller, this is going to get bigger. So as you keep the speed the same. So the acceleration is not going to stay constant. It's actually going to get bigger and bigger. And so that's why B is correct. A would be acceleration getting smaller. D, they're all getting smaller, so it has to get bigger. And I just showed you why. So that's why B is correct. Number 6, a 10 kilogram object is near a planet's surface such that the gravitational field strength is 4. With what force is the planet attracted to the 10 kilogram object? So the field strength is 4, that's your G. And the mass is 10 kilograms. So the weight of the object would just be 10 times 4, so 40. But this says, with what force is the planet attracted to the 10 kilogram object? So this is something that you need to understand Newton's third law. So if the force of weight, or the force of the planet on the object, is 40, therefore the force of the object on the planet is also 40. So 40 newtons is C. Number 7, we have tension is 25, gravity is 10, the ball is attached to one end of a string, vertical circular path near the surface. The force diagram of the ball is at its lowest point and the circular path is shown below. What is the net centripetal force on the ball? So 25 is up, 10 is down, so the sum of the forces is the centripetal force, so it's 15 newtons of force, B. 8, one end of a string is attached to a vertical pole. So basically the net force needs to be towards the left because that's the direction that it's accelerating in to keep it in a circle. But we will need some force keeping it up because there is some weight to it. So it's not A because this thing would be accelerating downward and to the left. It's actually B because the upward component of the tension will cancel out with the gravity, leaving the X component of the tension being the centripetal force. C might be right if you broke this down into components, but like if this was, the top one was FTY and the left one was FTX, but I think that they didn't want you to look at it that way, so hopefully you knew that. And D is just extra wrong. An astronaut performs an experiment near the surface of a moon by releasing an object at rest above a motion detector such that data can be collected about the object's vertical velocity as a function of time. The data are provided in a table. Which of the following graphs most likely represents the shape of the curve of the magnitude of the gravitational field strength near the moon? So you're looking at a gravitational field strength. And let's look at the velocity. We go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, basically. So that's about 5. So it's definitely not A. B would work if that was at a slope of, or at a y-intercept of 5. C's not right because that means it's getting stronger and stronger over time, and it doesn't look like it is. It's not getting faster and faster, so that's why B has to be right. A satellite of mass m orbits a moon of mass big M in uniform circular motion with constant tangential speed of v. Is that part of this? The gravitational field strength at a distance r from the center of moon is gr. The satellite is moved to a new orbit 2r of the center of the moon. What is the gravitational field strength? We talked about this in class, but basically you just use the gravitational field strength equation, which is not on your equation sheet, but it's something really nice to memorize. It's just part of, it's basically this times m is Fg equals gmm over r squared. So this is little g, so if you can just remember that. But anyway, if you double the radius, then that double gets squared, so that's 4r squared. So if you divide this side by 4, then you divide this side by 4. So the answer is g over 4. Number 11, you have a cart of mass m is moving with a speed v on a smooth track when it encounters a vertical loop of radius r as shown above. The cart moves along the inside of an entire loop without leaving the track. All frictional forces are negligible. Which of the following free body diagrams shows the forces exerted on the cart at point Q? So at Q, it's on the left-hand side. We know that we have to have a net force pointing to the right in order for this thing to be moving in the circle. So none of those really work except for D. We have a normal force pointing to the right, and gravity obviously is still pointing down, but our net force is still going to be pointing to the right. Number 12, we have a vertical position versus time graph. You're starting at 400 going to 10, or going to 0 speed position, and it takes 10 seconds to basically fall from 400 meters to the ground. 5 kilogram object is released from rest. The object's vertical position is shown in the graph. Which of the following procedures can be used to determine the strength of the gravitational field? So basically you want to get the acceleration. That's going to be the strength of the field. So you're going to use this equation, the displacement equation, to find the acceleration. We're dropping it from rest, so 0 meters per second is the rest, 10 seconds for the time based on the graph, 400 meters for the initial y position, 0 for the final, and we're getting all of these constants from the graph. So 400 is the y-intercept, 0 is the x-intercept, and then 10 is the time, and then solve for the acceleration, and that'll tell you what the gravitational field strength is. So I hope that helps, and good luck on Monday. I think you'll all do great. I'm really excited for you.